Have you ever sensed a quiet shift in someone you cherish? A fading sparkle in their eyes, a hesitation in their voice, or a stillness that wasn't there before? We cling to the belief that aging is a peaceful descent, a natural rhythm of life. Yet beneath the surface, the body often hums a softer tune, a series of gentle signals that, if noticed, could guide us to walk this path with purpose and compassion. The final chapter of life is seldom abrupt. Instead, it reveals itself through tender, easily missed clues, changes so gradual they blur into the background of daily life. These are not omens of despair, but quiet invitations to slow down, to prepare hearts and minds, and to deepen connections while there's still time. In this video, we'll uncover 5 understated yet deeply meaningful changes that may surface as an elderly person nears life's twilight. These are not mere clinical observations, but intimate, human experiences, often overshadowed by routine or brushed aside as just part of growing old. By learning to recognize them, you'll gain the insight to provide comfort, preserve dignity, and create meaningful memories in the moments that remain. Why is this important? Because true care is not just about prolonging days, it's about enriching them. When we heed these whispers early, fear transforms into clarity. We exchange helplessness for intentional acts of kindness, ensuring their well-being takes center stage, not treatments that no longer align with their peace. This isn't about foretelling an end. It's about honoring the quiet truth that time is a fleeting gift, and every shared smile or held hand becomes a legacy. Whether you're a devoted caregiver, a family member, or someone seeking to understand, this video will walk beside you. If you're new here, we invite you to join our community. Subscribing ensures you never miss insights that matter. If this speaks to you, let us know. Comment, "I'm here," to share your journey or light a virtual candle for someone you hold dear. Now, let's begin. The first sign often lingers not in the body's frailty, but in the quiet spaces between words. Sign 1, pronounced weight loss. As the body approaches the final stages of life, one of the most visible and clinically significant changes is a steady, unintentional decline in weight. Unlike the gradual slimming often associated with aging, this shift is marked by a systemic reduction in body mass that cannot be reversed through diet or encouragement. Clothing becomes ill-fitting, jewelry slips effortlessly from thinning fingers, and the familiar contours of the face, cheeks, jawline, temples, soften into hollows and angles that feel foreign to those who know the person best. Initially, the changes may seem minor, a preference for smaller portions, skipped snacks, or a lack of interest in once-loved dishes. Over weeks or months, however, the cumulative effect becomes impossible to ignore. The root of this transformation lies in the body's slowing biological processes. Digestive efficiency declines, reducing the absorption of essential nutrients from food. Muscles, starved of the proteins and calories needed to maintain their structure, begin to atrophy. Even the brain's hunger signals weaken, as if the body is diverting its limited energy away from sustaining physical vitality and toward preserving only the most critical functions: heartbeat, respiration, circulation. This is not a conscious choice or a lapse in effort, but a physiological inevitability, a sign that the body is shifting its priorities from longevity to conservation. Chronic illnesses often accelerate this decline. Conditions like congestive heart failure, advanced cancer, or kidney disease can suppress appetite or alter metabolism, while neurological disorders such as Alzheimer's or Parkinson's may impair the ability to chew, swallow, or even recognize food. Mental health struggles, including depression or anxiety, further compound the issue, turning meals into sources of stress rather than nourishment. The result is a self-perpetuating cycle. Reduced caloric intake leads to fatigue, which diminishes mobility, further weakening muscles and exacerbating frailty. Falls become more frequent, wounds heal slower, and the immune system falters, leaving the body vulnerable to infections that would once have been trivial. For caregivers and family members, this phase is fraught with helplessness and heartache. Watching a loved one push away a plate of their former favorite meal or stare blankly at food they no longer recognize can stir panic, frustration, or guilt. Well-intentioned efforts to coax larger portions, blend calorie-dense smoothies, or schedule frequent snacks often meet resistance, creating tension rather than solutions. The emotional toll is profound for the individual, who may feel ashamed of their dwindling strength, and for loved ones who grapple with the urge to fix what cannot be repaired. Medical interventions, while sometimes helpful, have limits. Appetite stimulants may provide short-term relief, but fail to address the underlying decline. Feeding tubes or nutrition, though occasionally used, often prolong discomfort rather than improve quality of life. In this stage, the focus must shift from curative measures to compassionate care. Practical steps include offering smaller portions of high-calorie foods such as nut butter, avocado, or soft cheeses, prioritizing nutrient density over quantity. Hydration remains critical, and caregivers can provide manageable sips of water, herbal teas, or broths, using methods like ice chips or gentle spoon feeding to maintain fluid intake. Creating a calm environment during meals, free from distractions or pressure to eat, helps reduce stress, allowing the person to engage with food on their own terms. Respecting autonomy is key. Even accepting a single bite willingly becomes a meaningful gesture, emphasizing their control over their own needs. It's crucial to recognize that this weight loss is neither a failure of care nor a lack of willpower. It is the body's silent acknowledgement that its resources are finite. The systems that once thrived are now conserving energy for the final transition. Clinging to outdated expectations, like insisting on 3 full meals a day, only amplifies distress. Instead, this phase invites us to redefine nourishment. A spoonful of pudding shared with laughter, a sip of warm tea held in steady hands, or the simple act of sitting together in quiet companionship can hold more meaning than any dietary chart. Ultimately, this journey requires a balance of practicality and emotional presence. Regular consultations with healthcare providers can help manage symptoms like dry mouth or nausea, while hospice or palliative care teams offer strategies to maintain dignity and comfort. But beyond medical support, what matters most is honoring the person's humanity. Their worth is not measured in pounds or calories, but in the love and respect we offer as their physical form gently withdraws from the world. By releasing the urge to control and embracing the role of a compassionate witness, we grant them peace in their final chapter. Sign 2. Overwhelming fatigue and physical decline. In the final year of life, exhaustion often becomes a constant companion, a weariness so profound it reshapes daily existence. This is not the tiredness that follows a busy day or a restless night. It is a bone-deep fatigue that lingers despite hours of rest, turning once simple tasks into insurmountable challenges. Standing from a chair feels like scaling a mountain. A walk to the bathroom becomes a marathon. Even holding a conversation may leave the person breathless and drained. This fatigue stems from the body's dwindling energy reserves. Organs like the heart and lungs, which once worked tirelessly, now operate at reduced capacity. Blood circulation slows, depriving muscles of oxygen and nutrients. The metabolism, too, shifts gears. Instead of fueling activity, the body prioritizes sustaining vital functions, keeping the heart beating, the lungs breathing, the brain minimally active. Muscles, deprived of steady nourishment, weaken further, accelerating the cycle of frailty. What was once effortless, buttoning a shirt, lifting a cup, now demands Herculean effort. The emotional toll is equally heavy. A grandparent who once tended gardens or hosted family dinners may retreat to bed for hours, not out of disinterest but necessity. Hobbies gather dust, social calls go unanswered, and conversations grow sparse. For the individual, this loss of independence can breed frustration or shame. For loved ones, it's agonizing to witness someone they admire reduced to relying on others for basic needs. Well-meaning encouragement, let's go for a short walk, or stay awake a little longer, often leads to resentment or guilt. The body, in its wisdom, is signaling that rest is no longer optional but essential. Medical conditions often amplify this decline. Heart disease, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, or advanced cancer strain the body's remaining energy. Neurological disorders like Parkinson's disrupt motor function, making movement exhausting. Even mild anemia or thyroid imbalances, manageable in earlier years, now tip the scales toward debilitating fatigue. Sleep, too, becomes fragmented, not restorative. The person may nap frequently, but never feel refreshed, trapped in a cycle of drowsiness and restless nights. For caregivers, navigating this phase requires patience and adaptability. Practical steps begin with respecting natural rest cycles, allowing naps without guilt, and structuring the day around brief windows of activity, often in the morning when energy levels peak. Simplifying daily routines can ease physical strain, opting for sponge baths instead of showers, serving meals in bed, or installing grab bars to prevent falls. Meaningful interactions take precedence over quantity. Short visits centered on reading a cherished poem or sharing a memory are less taxing than prolonged socializing. Managing expectations becomes critical, as a good day may simply involve sitting by a sunny window or listening to a beloved song. Medical support can offer limited relief. Stimulants or blood transfusions might temporarily boost energy, but rarely address the root cause. Physical therapy may maintain mobility, but cannot reverse decline. Here, the focus shifts to comfort, pain management, oxygen therapy for breathlessness, or adjusting medications to reduce side effects like dizziness. Above all, this fatigue is a natural progression, not a failure. The body is conserving its remaining strength for the journey ahead. Fighting this reality, pushing for activity or normalcy, often deepens suffering. Instead, caregivers can create pockets of joy within the constraints. A hand massage, a shared sunset, or a quiet hour holding hands can transcend words. These moments remind the person they're cherished, not for what they can do, but simply for being. In this final chapter, fatigue is not an enemy to defeat, but a rhythm to honor. By releasing societal pressures to stay active and embracing stillness, we offer our loved ones permission to rest, to exit life as softly as they entered it, cradled in care and dignity. Sign 3. Cognitive shifts and emotional withdrawal. In the final year of life, the mind often begins to retreat, a gradual unraveling of clarity and connection that reshapes relationships and identity. This is not the occasional forgetfulness of aging, but a profound shift in cognitive function. Memories blur, familiar faces become strangers, and once effortless tasks, like following a conversation or recalling a grandchild's name, feel like navigating a fog. Sentences trail off mid-thought, and confusion about time or place grows frequent. A parent might ask for a spouse who passed decades ago, or insist they're in a childhood home. These moments are not mere lapses, but signs of the brain's quiet recalibration as it prepares for transition. The roots of this decline are both biological and systemic. Reduced blood flow to the brain, metabolic imbalances, or the progression of conditions like Alzheimer's impair neural pathways. The hippocampus, critical for memory, shrinks. Neurotransmitters like acetylcholine, essential for focus, dwindle. The brain, much like the body, begins prioritizing survival over coherence. Sleep disruptions exacerbate the issue, leaving the mind fatigued and fragmented. What emerges is a person who exists in fleeting moments of lucidity, tethered to the present 1 second and adrift in the past the next. Emotionally, this withdrawal is devastating. The individual may oscillate between agitation and apathy, frustrated by their inability to articulate thoughts or resigned to silence. Social gatherings, once a source of joy, now overwhelm. They might stare blankly at loved ones or retreat to solitary corners, not out of indifference, but because the noise of interaction feels unbearable. For families, this detachment feels like a slow farewell. The person they knew, sharp, engaged, vibrant, seems hidden behind a veil, leaving behind a shell that resembles but no longer reflects them. Medical factors often compound these changes. Urinary tract infections, electrolyte imbalances, or undiagnosed strokes can trigger sudden confusion. Medications, particularly sedatives or painkillers, may cloud thinking further. Even dehydration, common in late-stage decline, can mimic dementia. Distinguishing between reversible causes and irreversible decline requires careful evaluation, but in many cases, the changes signal an unalterable progression. For caregivers, navigating this terrain demands empathy and adaptability. Simplifying communication helps, using short sentences, gentle tones, and avoiding open-ended questions. Instead of asking, "What would you like for lunch?" offer choices. Would you prefer soup or a sandwich? Maintaining routines provides anchors. A morning cup of tea, an afternoon walk, or evening music. Familiar objects, a favorite quilt, family photos, offer comfort, grounding the person in a sense of continuity. Safety becomes paramount. Wandering tendencies or forgetfulness about hazards, e.g., stoves, stairs, require precautions like door alarms or secured walkways. Yet vigilance must balance with dignity. Over-restriction can fuel agitation. Redirecting, rather than correcting, eases tension. If they insist it's 1950, join them there, "Tell me about your job back then," instead of arguing the date. The emotional toll on caregivers is profound. Watching a loved one lose their narrative, their stories, their recognition, feels like grieving someone still present. Anger, guilt, and helplessness surface, often interwoven with moments of grace, a sudden smile, a fleeting glimpse of the person they once were. Support groups or counseling can provide solace, reminding caregivers they're not alone in this duality of loss and love. Ultimately, cognitive decline is not a negation of the person, but a transformation. Their worth isn't tied to memory or coherence. Sitting quietly together, holding a hand, or playing a cherished song can transcend words. These acts affirm that love exists beyond language, beyond recognition. By releasing expectations of who they should be and embracing who they are now, we honor their humanity in its entirety, fragile, fleeting, yet still sacred. Sign 4. Frequent infections and delayed healing. In the final stages of life, the body's ability to defend and repair itself diminishes markedly. What once were minor ailments, a small cut, a seasonal cold, now escalate into persistent struggles. Infections recur with alarming regularity, and wounds linger for weeks, their slow healing a stark reminder of the body's waning resilience. A simple scrape becomes a stubborn sore. A mild cough evolves into pneumonia. These challenges are not random misfortunes, but signals of a deeper transition, as the body's defenses shift from protection to preservation. The decline stems from systemic wear. The immune system, once a vigilant guardian, grows sluggish. White blood cells respond slower to invaders. Antibodies wane in effectiveness, and inflammatory responses, critical for healing, lose their precision. Circulation weakens, reducing the flow of oxygen and nutrients to tissues. Skin, thinner and more fragile, tears easily and struggles to regenerate. Even mucous membranes in the respiratory or urinary tracts lose their integrity, turning everyday environments into minefields of potential infection. Common issues include urinary tract infections, UTIs, recurrent pneumonias, or skin ulcers. Unlike earlier years, these conditions present atypically. A UTI might manifest as sudden confusion rather than pain. Pneumonia could surface as lethargy instead of a fever. Healing, too, defies expectations. A bruise from a light bump may take weeks to fade, while surgical incisions or pressure sores resist closing despite meticulous care. For caregivers, this pattern is both baffling and heartbreaking, a reminder that the body's resources are now reserved for sustaining life, not repairing it. The emotional toll is profound. For the individual, Constant illness erodes their sense of autonomy. They may feel trapped in a cycle of antibiotics, doctor visits, and bed rest, their world shrinking to the confines of a sick room. For families, watching a loved one battle infection after infection stirs helplessness. The urge to do more clashes with the reality that aggressive treatments, hospitalizations, strong medications, often prolong discomfort without improving outcomes. Caregiving in this phase demands vigilance and adaptability. Hygiene becomes paramount. Frequent hand washing, meticulous wound care, and ensuring clean linens to prevent bed sores. Monitoring for subtle signs of infection, increased drowsiness, changes in appetite, or subtle shifts in behavior can catch issues early. Hydration and nutrition remain critical, even if intake is minimal. Nutrient-rich broths, vitamin-fortified drinks, or small portions of protein can bolster what little defense the body retains. Medical interventions have their limits. Antibiotics may clear one infection but leave the body vulnerable to the next. Wound debridement or specialized dressings might aid healing temporarily but cannot reverse systemic decline. In many cases, the focus shifts to palliative measures, pain relief, oxygen support for labored breathing, or topical treatments to soothe irritated skin. Decisions about hospitalization or intensive care often hinge on quality of life, weighing the burdens of treatment against the fleeting time remaining. This stage invites a difficult but necessary acceptance. The body is no longer fighting to recover, but conserving energy for its final journey. Insisting on curative measures may only amplify suffering. Instead, comfort takes precedence. A warm blanket for chills, a gentle massage to ease restlessness, or simply sitting quietly to alleviate the loneliness of illness. These infections and delayed healing are not failures, but natural mile markers in life's closing chapter. By responding with compassion rather than resistance, caregivers honor the body's wisdom. They trade the illusion of control for the grace of presence, offering solace in the knowledge that their loved one's final days are met with tenderness, not turmoil. Sign 5. Shifting breath and fading warmth. In the final months of life, the rhythm of breath and flow of blood often undergo quiet but profound changes. Breathing grows uneven, shallow inhales interrupted by long pauses, or sudden gasps that break the silence of a room. The chest may rise and fall in unpredictable patterns, as if the lungs can no longer sustain their familiar cadence. Hands and feet turn cold, their usual warmth replaced by a chill that blankets and socks cannot dispel. Skin pales or takes on a faint bluish hue, particularly at the fingertips or lips. These shifts are not fleeting anomalies, but signs of the body's gradual surrender. Its systems conserving energy for the most essential task, sustaining life's flickering ember. Physiologically, these changes reflect the heart and lungs operating at diminished capacity. The diaphragm weakens, reducing the depth of each breath. Oxygen saturation drops, leaving tissues starved of fuel. The heart, strained by years of service, pumps less efficiently, diverting blood away from extremities to protect vital organs. Circulation slows, causing fluid to pool in the lungs or limbs, which may lead to crackling breaths or swollen ankles. Even the brain, sensing the body's limits, begins to deprioritize reflexes like coughing, increasing the risk of aspiration. What emerges is a delicate balance, a body in retreat, yet still clinging to life. For loved ones, witnessing this decline is heart-wrenching. Each labored breath feels like a countdown, each cold touch a reminder of mortality. The person may grow anxious during episodes of breathlessness, clutching at their chest or struggling to speak. Others slip into calm detachment, as if the effort of breathing leaves no room for fear. Family members hover, torn between calling for emergency help and respecting the natural course they've been warned about. The urge to do something collides with the understanding that interventions like CPR or ventilators may only prolong suffering. Caregiving in this phase centers on comfort and presence. Elevating the head with pillows can ease labored breathing, while a humidifier adds moisture to dry air, soothing irritated airways. Gentle suctioning or a cool cloth on the forehead may relieve minor distress. Oxygen therapy, if prescribed, offers fleeting relief but often becomes a backdrop to the inevitable. Skin care gains urgency. Turning the person regularly prevents bed sores, and light massage with lotion restores a fleeting warmth to icy limbs. Speech diminishes, so caregivers learn to read subtle cues, a furrowed brow, a trembling hand, or a sigh that speaks volumes. Medical guidance is essential but often underscores the limits of treatment. Diuretics may reduce fluid retention, while morphine alleviates air hunger. Yet the focus increasingly shifts to creating peace, soft lighting, familiar voices, or playing a cherished song. The sound of a loved one's steady breath, even when irregular, becomes a meditation. This final surrender is not a defeat, but a release. The body, having weathered decades of storms, now floats towards stillness. Families are reminded that warmth is not only physical. It lingers in a held hand, a whispered, "I'm here," or the quiet courage of sitting vigil. In these moments, the metrics of pulse and oxygen matter less than the unmeasured grace of love. By releasing the need to fix and embracing the role of witness, we honor the sacredness of a life closing its eyes, not with fear, but with the quiet dignity it deserves. Final reflections, embracing life's gentle farewell. As we reach the end of this exploration, it's important to pause and reflect on what these signs truly mean. They are not harbingers of doom, but gentle guides, illuminating a path that every life must eventually walk. Recognizing weight loss, fatigue, cognitive shifts, recurrent infections, and changes in breath isn't about counting down days, it's about making the days count. It's an invitation to shift our focus from fighting the inevitable to cherishing the irreplaceable. These signs remind us that aging is not a linear journey, but a mosaic of transitions. The body speaks in whispers long before it falls silent, urging us to prioritize comfort over cure, presence over panic. For caregivers, this understanding is both a burden and a gift. It asks us to confront our deepest fears of loss, of helplessness, while offering a roadmap to navigate this sacred time with intention. The emotional landscape of this journey is complex. Guilt may arise when treatments fail, grief may shadow every decline, and love often feels intertwined with sorrow. Yet within this tension lies an opportunity to redefine strength. Strength isn't about prolonging life at all costs, but about holding space for its natural conclusion. It's in the quiet moments, a shared glance, a murmured reassurance, a hand held through the night, that we find the courage to let go. To those walking this path, remember you're not alone. Every family that has loved deeply knows this ache. Seek support from hospice teams, counselors, or communities who understand the weight of these days. Allow yourself to grieve, to rest, and to celebrate the life that still flickers, however faintly. In the end, what matters most is not how many breaths were taken, but how many moments took our breath away. The laughter that once filled a room, the stories etched into memory, the quiet pride of a life well lived. These are the legacies that endure. By honoring these final signs with grace, we don't say goodbye, we whisper thank you. If this resonated with you, we invite you to share your story in the comments below. Your words may light the way for others in the darkness. For more guidance on navigating life's tender transitions, subscribe to our channel. Together, we can learn to embrace endings not as defeats, but as profound acts of love.